members of the OG Army. Get those wallets unfolded. Coming up next on the OtherGround live stage, prepare for an eargasm by Passive J and Big Dalton.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to yet another edition of OtherGround Live. I'm Passive J. That's Big Dalton over there. Say hello, Ryan.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, July the 14th, and we, later on in this podcast, will be making our predictions for UFC Fight Island 1. Jay, that's what people in the business would call a teaser.
Oh, my. I see the OG Army's forward up in the chat box. Good to see you guys there. How did your day go, Mr. Teaser?
It was a long damn day. So I was up and on calls actually at 8 a.m. this morning and pretty much stayed that way through most of the day. So I am just about all talked out. So this is your show. 1, 2, 3, go.
Oh, my. Oh, shit. Damn, I'm on the spot. Okay, let me grab the old cell phone filled full of useful notes for things.
So how was the day, Jay? Before you start going off on random topics.
It was pretty good. Well, yes and no. It started off poorly. I felt like crap yesterday. I had one of my incidents, and I was up in the bathroom most of the night. So I got up in the morning, and I felt like shit. Not surprisingly, because I didn't sleep a whole bunch, and and all that good stuff. At first, I was actually not going to do my workout because I felt horrible. But like after I'd been up for a couple hours and smoked a joint, I decided I was going to go ahead and power through it because I didn't want to have the conversation with you if I didn't. So. Which was leg day, and it was pretty good actually. I liked the leg day quite a bit because now you've got me doing heavier weights for lower reps, which is always my preference over lighter weights with higher reps. Like you're having me doing 5 sets of 4 or some shit like that, or 4 sets of 5. I can't remember what the exact numbers are, but those are the kind of numbers I like. But at supposedly at like 70 or 80% of max weight.
Yeah, so have you noticed that has that number at least gone up after those first couple months? Can you feel yourself at least a bit stronger on these lower rep ranges?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, because if nothing else, I told you I was doing split squats to replace regular squats because I didn't have the rack. We've had that conversation before. This week I was just doing just body weight split squats. I wasn't even holding on to a weight. Now for this one I added 25-pound weights, so and I had no issues. I think I should maybe added a little bit more.
So that's good.
Homelander, that's my wife doing the dishes. So that's a good thing. And well, I know that's not a lot of weight, but even when I was doing well, I was only working out with 50s, I think. So I have some build up to get back to where I was, much less be strong at it.
Well, as long as you're making progress, right? As long as you're seeing something out of it, it seems like it's good programming for you.
Yeah, yep, that's working out pretty good. It was squats, pause squats, and then hamstrings. So I did Bulgarian split squats, then the Bulgarian split squats with a pause at the bottom, and then stiff-legged deadlift for the hamstring stuff. And
gotcha.
I was quite happy about it. No, I'm not podcasting from the kitchen, Homelander, but my den is right next to the kitchen, so pretty much.
So I was actually
doesn't respect the podcast silence hour. Apparently not.
Well, I mean that's most people at this point. However, when you initially said that your day started kind of shitty, I thought it would dovetail right into the first big news item of the day. I'm sure you heard Grant Imahara died.
Oh, I know. That's fucking horrible. For one thing, he was way older than I thought. He was 49. That's not old at all, but the dude looked like he was in his 30s through the entire run of the show. And every time both his shows, because he did 2 of them. So yeah, that's just a big shit sandwich to wake up to.
Yeah, what was it, like a brain aneurysm or something crazy like that?
Yeah. So obviously nothing that they knew about. And that's one of the scary things, because it just fucking happens. There's really no preparation. You can't improve your diet to make sure you don't get a brain aneurysm. I think. I don't even know a ton about them. Are they related to blood pressure, or is it kind of like a stroke, or is it something different? I wonder.
I'm assuming he was just too smart and his brain just blew up, because you never hear about like people in trailer parks keeling over from brain aneurysms.
Well, it's funny. The only experience I have of a brain aneurysm is my buddy Steve, the big powerlifter guy I knew back when I was a teenager. Grew up with the guy actually. He stopped lifting weights heavy because he had a brain aneurysm, and his doctor told him that he shouldn't lift super duper heavy like that anymore.
Well, yeah, when you're straining like that, your blood pressure's through the roof. So, yeah, I'm sure that was probably why.
Yeah. So now he's just a big husky dude.
Damn right. And you still love him.
Yeah. Dude, I don't think that I've seen the guy actually in what, 20 years maybe? Something like that. I talk to him every once in a while on Facebook, but yeah, I don't hang out with any of my childhood friends now.
That's kind of sad, Jay.
Well, no, not really. Do you keep in touch with all of your uh, childhood buddies?
Not many, just a couple. But, like, again, I came from such a small area anyway that, like, even if I kept up with, like, my entire graduating class, that would be, like, a whopping 80 people.
Right. My area wasn't that much more built up back then, but it's still a little bit more than that. I think our graduating class was like 150 or 200 or some shit like that.
Yeah, and plus, with them being in Iowa and all, there's not a whole lot to talk about because there's not really much going on there.
Yeah. Whoops. Sorry, I hit the microphone. I had to pick up a dog. My apologies.
Of course you did, Jay.
It was a big day for the dogs too. We've been having flea problems with them, and we've been trying different methods to get them off, and they haven't worked that well. And you can't just keep on giving your dog different types of flea medication. So we sent off for something in the mail, and it came today. The official, actually, it came yesterday. I think it was. No, it was today. Ultrasonic flea repellent that you hook onto their collars. We plugged it in, charged it up. Yeah, actually, that's right. We did get it yesterday. We charged it up last night and put them on them today, and it works like a motherfucker. I thought we were wasting our money for sure. This is something my wife ordered. I was like, no, fucking no, that's not going to work. And it works great, dude. You could see the fleas jump the fuck off the dogs.
Don't you just use Frontline or whatever at the beginning of the warm season?
Yeah, that's what we did, and it didn't work. So then we tried like one of the things that you put on them to get it on their coats, and that didn't work either. We've sprayed the carpets and stuff. They're coming in from outside. Would be what my assumption is because we let the dogs out now. And none of that shit worked. But this shit works great. Like I said, you could actually see the fleas leaving. So, which is kind of gross, but that means for the most part the problem is over because fleas can't live on humans. So they can bite you and make you itch, but they can't live on you. So all the fleas in our house will be dead in a day or two because they can't get back on the dogs.
Oh, I thought you were gonna turn that thing on with the dog there and then just sit there with your AK-47 bug zapper and shoot the little fuckers.
That's basically what my wife did with a flea comb, because she didn't want these fleas all over the house for the most part, obviously. So you can't drown a flea normally, but if you put them in soapy water, they'll die because they can't do something that fleas can, so she sat there and brushed the dogs with the collar thing on, and as the fleas came out, she would dip the comb into the soapy water and drown them. Which is kind of gross, but fucking. But what are you gonna do? The dogs will get fleas occasionally. It's if you let your dogs go outside, that's just gonna happen depending on where you live.
It's interesting though, because my dogs run around and go outside a ton, and I just give them the flea treatment a couple times a year, and I've never had issues.
Well, how rural or urban is the area that you live in?
I mean, I'm kind of in a suburb type area, but when I take them out to, I have a few friends that have a couple acres and just let them run. So yeah, I never had an issue. So I think this is just part of you having the luck of, well, what's the most unlucky person in the world? And I think you're near that.
Apparently me. But what are you gonna do? We love our little dogs, and we apparently fixed the problem. It was getting bad to the point, they sleep with my wife. My wife was having problems sleeping because they'd be scratching all night. So I was like, yeah, that's horrible. But we went to a vet who gave us stuff. The last thing we tried was a pill that's supposed to prevent fleas, ticks, and heartworm all at once, and it didn't work worth a shit for the fleas apparently.
I guess you guys just have some like badass like hardened fleas. They probably hang out with all the drug addicts in Detroit. They build up quite the resistance.
Yeah, we probably have the only fleas in the world that actually can live on humans because they've adapted to it.
So speaking of just bad,
Mhm.
did
Yes,
you
sir.
did you hear this guy out of Pennsylvania? Like another case where some asshole was charged with like 35 counts of child porn and got absolutely 0 days in prison.
Wow, how did that work out?
Well, it just so happens he's the son of like a county judge.
Hmm. Well, that's not suspicious at all, is it?
No, not at all. So like everything that he had, like, yeah, 35 counts of child porn, the worst of which were children 1 to 2 years old in age, carried a maximum sentence of over 250 years in prison. And he got probation.
Jesus fucking Christ. How blatant can it be sometimes? I mean, is that going to stick? I assume that the prosecution is going to try to appeal it to a higher court.
No, like they're all in on this shit. Like they said that everything went by the book and everything's just peachy.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, what happens at that point? There's no recourse. If the entire fucking, prosecution side is corrupt, that's just a done deal then, huh?
Yeah, so this guy just gets off with,
I mean,
probation, and he has to register as like some level of sex offender for like the next, I think, like 10 years or something.
well, can't they? I mean, in the Jussie Smollett thing, didn't they higher court like say bullshit? You can't do that when something like that kind of happened.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a different thing. Like this actually went all the way up to the attorney general, I guess, in that state. And it just seems like an old boys club where like there was just kind of probably some sort of backdoor handshake between that judge and everyone involved saying, hey, I'll straighten my kid out. You don't worry about it.
Fuck. Well, I guess that's that, huh?
Yes.
Well, that's a shitty subject. I don't have anything to say about that except for that fucking sucks. What are you gonna do though? Let's see. In other news, I got a haircut today. Yay! I had my wife cut my hair. This is actually the second time she's done it because I think she doesn't do a bad job for someone who probably doesn't really know what she's doing. Then again, I have an easy haircut. Basically, it's 2 on the sides, 3 on the top, and then trim the sides so it doesn't look bad.
She didn't leave a rat tail?
No, I had one of those when I was a kid. When I was a teenager, I think I was like 14 or something like that, and I had a rat tail. Unfortunately, I don't have like straight hair. I have big poofy hair, so it kind of as opposed to having a rat tail, it kind of looked like a rat had like bitten my forehead and then died and was hanging there. My brother made jokes about he wanted to put little googly eyes on it so it looked like a fucking hamster or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna need you to switch over to that, either that or like a glorious mullet if you can pull it off.
Once again, I can't do a mullet. My hair does not grow down; it grows out. Imagine like
well, you can absolutely do a
hair.
mullet then. It's like if you have that Jufro, like Homelander's saying, like, yeah, you could absolutely have an awesome looking mullet.
Yeah. Well, you gotta be I don't know. I did try growing my hair out long once and trying to keep it as straight as I could. I think I posted pictures on the OG before, and I got it pretty long, but it was also since it was so thick and bunchy. If you got it wet, it looked like it grew 6 inches.
Well, there you go. Like you'll have something to talk about with all the old Jewish people.
I don't think that's the haircut I should be going for. It is a rather professional looking place. Like the other day, my wife gave me a mask. She's like, "Oh, try this mask out." And it's got like melons and flowers and shit. It's got like it's light blue. I'm like, I don't think this is appropriate for work. Really, my mask at work is just like a navy blue mask that I bring home, wash out every day, and then bring it back. I have 3 of them in case I forget to wash it out one day. Because you don't really want to do those more than 1, maybe 2 days tops.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. I'm still doing the working at home thing.
Well, don't you go into public stores at all? You don't have any masks? Do you not do that? Or is it not required where
Well,
you
no,
are?
I absolutely do, but it's something that like I don't have to worry about doing that like every day. So just every time I use it, I'll just like throw it in the wash. And I have a bunch of them,
Right
so I
on.
don't necessarily need to do that because I think I ordered like 15 or something just to be safe.
Right.
But yeah,
Was it hard finding a mask for your gigantic melon?
surprisingly not too bad. Apparently, my mouth and ears are close enough that I'm okay. I think it's just the rest of my Neanderthal skull that would have problems if I had to, wear like, a Freddy mask or something, one of those latex things. I'd probably be fucked then.
Right. I actually had the first one I had, and I still have it. But I stopped using it. Was actually formed really great for my face. I have a big, long face, and I was surprised that my wife was able to find me one. Someone in the neighborhood was making masks and giving them away. So, my wife asked for a couple, and she asked him what size, and she described my big old head, and apparently that was good enough for her to do a good job. The problem is it's very form fitting. Like air can't escape around the sides or the bottom all that much. So by 5 or 10 or 15 minutes into wearing the mask, all it is just your own hot breath in your face all day. So I stopped using that one and got a different one that is not as form fitted, but that's kind of the point. It has ties in the back, so instead of having like elastic holding against your face, you can adjust it and tie it as tightly or loosely as you want. And then the bottom ties, I barely tie at all, so it kind of hangs in front of my face, almost more like a bandana, although slightly more form fitting. So the long and short of it is, breath can escape from underneath it and to the sides a little bit, more like a bandana than a regular thing, and it's way more comfortable.
Yeah, that definitely was the long, short, medium, and extra medium of it there, Jay.
Sorry, you know me. If I get on a roll, I have to get rather descriptive before I can get myself off the roll. But that's
Not a
okay. Actually,
problem.
I do have actual topics. That's fine. Uh, let's see. Bring up the old notepad. No, that one's silly. That one's maybe later. Uh, Speaking of masks, apparently this happened right around here, not that long ago. I think earlier fucking today. Apparently, a guy got into an argument at the store about face masks with another person and decided he was going to pull out a knife and stab that motherfucker, which is what he did. So, and then he drove away. The guy got stabbed in the hospital recovering. Apparently, the police found him and pulled him over. And when they pulled him over, the guy at some point pulled out a knife. So the officer shot and killed him.
Well, so is this kind of like just a backhanded way of Darwinism working?
No, that's pretty upfront, I would say. I mean, I don't. There's two separate topics about that. Obviously, the first one being, the idea of whether or not you should try to enforce your fellow man's mask wearing, which the answer is probably not, considering what just happened. Hold on a second, I need water. And number two, who the fuck pulls out a knife on the cops now? Jesus Christ, this isn't the fucking 60s. You haven't you ever watched a movie? You can't get away with that shit. If you pull out a knife on the cops, they're gonna fucking shoot you every fucking time, dude. You're not that fast.
Yeah, bringing a knife to a situation where they have guns and tasers, like, that's not a winning proposition. Which I think is why I immediately go to, yeah, this was definitely a Darwinism thing, because, yeah, like, any critical thinking there, that's where you just go ahead and give up. And then, when you're face down on the concrete with your hands behind your back, then you can say, hey, officer, I do have a knife on me, just so you don't stick yourself, and then hopefully you don't get beat in the face with a baton.
Right. So how do you feel about the entire telling other people they should wear a mask in public thing? You just mind your own business and decide that they're fucking idiots, or would you get involved in that kind of thing?
No, I'm not really the type to call people out for being douchebags, just like general douchebags in public. Now, I would get involved if it was like like the crazy guy, I think in Florida, that ended up getting fired after he freaked out in like a Costco. Like, wouldn't wear a mask, and then like somebody was videotaping him, and then he started yelling about how he felt threatened and was like running after the people. That I might get involved with, but just general seeing somebody without a mask, I'm not going to just start yelling at them for no reason.
Right.
I'll leave that up to, I'll leave that up to either the business or whatever else.
Yeah, speaking of which, I haven't seen anything confirmed about my local police department, but I did see like the Macomb County Sheriffs, which is like the next county over, have already said that they don't have the personnel to enforce that law, so they will not be doing so. The only exception being if a business is trying to enforce that law and the person will not put it on their mask and they won't leave, they will come over and give them a trespassing ticket. But other than that, they're not going to get involved in the mask enforcement thing. They said they don't have the time for that.
Well, yeah, and I think we kind of discussed that, right? Like, generally, that's not the cop's job to sit around and be the fucking mask police. Like, that's not a good use of their time. Yes, now if a business is trying to get someone to leave the premises for not wearing a mask, then yeah, that might be a call to the cops if they just won't fucking leave. Because, I mean, what else are you going to do, right? You're not going to let them just get away with it and go in and do their business not wearing a mask. And you're also not going to put your employees in danger by saying, hey, physically restrain this asshole and throw him out. Like, that's not a thing either. So I guess I can understand that stance.
Yeah, well, because at that point, if they wouldn't come, then they wouldn't be enforcing a law that's already in the books. You don't have to. The businesses don't have to kick them out because they're not wearing a mask. They can kick them out just to fucking kick them out. So if a business calls and said there's someone on the premises that won't leave, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. That's the cop's job at that point to come over and charge them with trespassing.
Right, and at that point, it gets rid of the whole legal argument that you hear a lot of these mouth breathers of, like, having to wear a mask, that's not a law, you can't enforce it, blah, blah, blah. The business sure the fuck can tell you to leave. If you don't do it, they can sure call the cops. And then there is a law.
Right. Now, the question about legality about this entire executive order that the governor put with us is whether or not the businesses are required to enforce it like the executive order says. It says the businesses are required to enforce the law. So if a business decides they're not going to enforce the law, what's the legality of that, I wonder?
Yeah, that's probably another question altogether. Let's hope there's no businesses that are that ridiculous.
There will be, I guarantee it, dude. Detroit itself is, as most people know, is mostly democratically run, but you get outside of that, it's mostly Republican. And both sides I don't have an issue with. I don't really pick sides as far as a Republican or Democrat goes. But the extreme right-wing Republicans some of them are very much against masks. So I'm sure it's not going to happen in any big numbers, but I'm sure there's going to be a couple of rural cities where there's a business or two that says, it's their right to let people in without masks.
Yeah, that stuff is just so ridiculous to me. Like the idea, right? Like, so people say, well, masks won't completely, reduce the chance of you getting sick to zero or whatever else. But it's kind of like the idea of like a seatbelt or an airbag in your car. Doesn't mean you're going to survive 100%, but goddamn, like increasing your chances, 20, 30, 50, 60% of the time, it's kind of a worthwhile thing to do.
Haven't any of these people played video games before? Shit, man. I would take a fucking 5 or 10 or 20% buff. It's an empty slot anyways, man. It's not like you have to fucking switch out something more awesome for it. Go ahead and wear the mask.
Well, there you go. You start a nerd campaign around mask usage. Let's see how things go.
Well, I mean, that's what it's like, really. I mean, if it was a video game and you had a 20% disease resistance buff that you could wear on your face, then you weren't even wearing anything else, you'd wear that shit in a heartbeat.
It depends. How awesome does it look?
Shit. Good point. Nowadays, so there are people that would actually rather look good than play good.
Yeah. People are stupid, though.
Yep. The theme of our show. All right. Let's see. You got anything, or you want me to do in the next topic? Next topic as well.
So we do have another update to other things we were talking about. Remember the whole ICE guidance that any international students that had online or remote learning, we're going to have to leave the country.
Yes.
Well, that's been overturned.
Oh, well, that's for the best, I think. They were here legally. It's not like they snuck into Harvard or anything like that.
Right, absolutely. And like they're paying a lot of freaking money.
Yeah.
Like they are helping our economy, which is a problem right now. But yeah, so this is like I will absolutely have to give kudos. Like I don't know if I have to give kudos or not. So like if you fuck up to begin with and then you fix it, do you deserve praise?
Yes as well, because anybody can make a mistake or make the wrong decision.
Okay, well then I will 100% give praise to the Trump administration for reversing course on this.
Well, there you go.
I will even give it a MAGA.
Well, because the issue of that kind of thing is making a wrong decision and then refusing to own up to it. You know, like I said, everybody makes mistakes, sir.
So there. Praise to Trump and his administration. MAGA for reversing course.
Let's see what else do we got here. Oh, this is from a couple of days ago that I didn't get a chance to get around to. A Chinese bus driver who was upset that his home was being demolished has been apparently went drinking and then went to his job and drove his bus into a reservoir, killing 21 people. Apparently, he'd been unhappy about the demolition of the public home that he rented. Authorities, on the other hand, said that they let him know about it like months before that, like in June, and he'd actually signed a paper saying that he didn't have any problem with it, and they were giving him like $10,000 in compensation, which he never received. They sent to him, and he never cashed a check. So apparently, the guy went fucking nutty. And that's kind of why I don't want to go on public transport that often. Obviously, that kind of shit happens, more in other countries, or you hear about it more. But it's not unknown. I mean, fuck, can you imagine that being on a bus, just driving along, minding your own business, and the driver decides he's going to run it off the road into a fucking lake?
Well, yeah, and it was especially messed up because wasn't the guy's name We No Break?
Oh no, dude, no. Have you ever been on public transport for long periods or anything like that? I was on a Greyhound bus for like a 2-day trip to South Carolina and back, and then like a 4-day trip to Oklahoma from Oklahoma. So I have a little experience with commercial buses and such. You ever ridden one for any length of time?
No, never a bus, and never like for a super long period of time. Like I've done like short train trips and like subway stuff like that. And by short, I'm talking from like the southern part of Connecticut into New York City, because it's the easiest way to go into the city and not have to deal with like trying to find parking and crap like that. But other than that, yeah, never a bunch of public transit. Like the L train in Chicago, really just like mass transit and not necessarily like long haul buses.
Right, and subways are barely even driven by people. Isn't it pretty much automated?
I think for the most part. Like, I'm sure there might be some human intervention. I don't know shit about subways, so I could be totally talking out my ass at this point.
Right. But my point I was trying to make in a very roundabout way was I'm not really comfortable when someone else is in control of the transport I'm in, for the most part. I don't like it. And I think that's pretty common. Almost nobody likes to be in a car that someone else is driving.
So, like, when you go places, you're always the one to drive?
No, because I'm also very lazy. So I've gotten used to letting my wife drive. I know she's not stupid about driving, so I just have to trust in her driving skill. But certainly not strangers or people that I don't know. When I was in Vegas, the Uber thing was very convenient, but I was also fairly uncomfortable letting someone else drive around with me.
So I know she's just a few feet away from you, so don't worry. We won't tell that you're actually secretly absolutely mortified of your wife driving.
No, we're gonna, like, for instance, at our trip to Port Austin next month, I'm probably gonna let her drive, mostly because she can't stand driving in my car. It's a manual transmission, so it's way too jerky for her, mostly because I can't fucking stop hitting the gas. That's my fault. Don't tell her that I do most of that shit on purpose. And I won't drive her car, because her car is like driving a fucking couch. It's boring as fuck. And it's way bigger than my car, so I'm actually uncomfortable, like, in tight spots with it. So since she doesn't want me to drive my car, she basically is forced to drive her car, which means I get a free chauffeur.
Smooth, Jay. Smooth.
Yeah, and also Homelander's pointing out she does have 2 functioning eyes. Believe it or not, driving, it does not affect me during normal driving.
How does that work? You say you'd have no depth perception. Isn't that like one of the main things about driving?
Well, sure, in certain situations. You got to remember, depth perception only goes out to about like 20 feet or something like that. Maybe 10 or 20 feet, I'd have to look it up. After that, you're not using depth perception. You're using your memory of the various sizes of things to know how far away something is. When you're driving down the road, you're not using depth perception to drive. When you're parking your car, you are using depth perception. So I'm fine going down the road for the most part, but in parking lots, I try not to park too close to other people and give myself lots of space.
I would be worried as fuck if you were behind me and there was a red light coming. Because that does get within like the 20 feet thing.
Well, yeah, but I don't try to get right up on the dude. I make sure I stop a reasonable distance away from him. As I said, I know how far away a car is supposed to look at 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet, so on and so forth. Cars don't vary in size that much. So I have a pretty good idea of how far away that thing is, and I make sure I stop before I'm inside of that 20-foot range. Even in 20 foot, just because I don't have depth perception, that doesn't mean I can't figure out how far away something is then, too, because you can still see how big it is. It's just like the fine adjustments I don't want to fuck with. I'm really only uncomfortable with if I'm getting within a couple feet of something.
Yeah, I still don't know if I would trust you anywhere near me, Jay. In a vehicle, that is. Like you in person, I don't think you'd be, much of a threat, but you in a couple ton vehicle, I don't know. These days, you might just accidentally run over a Girl Scout troop that's just there to sell cookies.
I try not to. Oh, I was looking at the chat box. Yeah, Ruthie, we didn't block you in the least bit. I haven't blocked anybody in a few days, actually. I haven't had to.
Huh. Yeah, that's super weird, and no one really could block you other than Jay, because I can't block anyone via the app on BlueStacks. Right. It just doesn't even give me an option.
Right. Well, he can when he's running the show, he can. But basically, there's only one person that has those abilities. And I'd really like to go ahead and give it over to Ryan, but I don't want to stop using my microphone, and I don't think I could figure out BlueStacks like he does.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to have to be the person doing all that extra stuff, like logging into a website, junk like that. I did accidentally block or ban Slydog for about 3 seconds when we were working through our technical difficulties during the fight companion. Right. That was mainly because I couldn't hear him at all. Turns out Firefox cannot use it to run the podcast.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, I use Google Chrome. Yeah, Slydog's a good guy. He's called in a whole bunch of times and saved the show. Nice fella. Let's see. What else you got, sir?
Let's see. What else so Amazon is unveiling another like contactless type of store. They had done that a while back where it like has cameras in the ceiling and shit like that, and it could like tell what you have taken off shelves. This takes it even a little bit this takes it like kind of a step further. Instead of having like the entire place with cameras everywhere, what it actually has is a bunch of cameras and sensors within your shopping cart.
Really?
So it will see and weigh things that you put in your shopping cart. So then this way it isn't so tied to, it has to be, like a physical location where it's just taking a look at like what's coming off shelves. It can be a little bit more widely used. But yeah, it'll take a look at everything that you're putting in your cart and weigh the things that it has to weigh. And then that way you get out and you just basically, walk right out and it just charges your Amazon account. So they're piloting, I think, in looks like LA.
That's interesting, and that's probably a better method because the other way requires so many different cameras and so many different positions. This just sounds like it'd probably be an easier process to do it that way, where all you'd have is cameras and like weights in the individual carts.
Yeah, and this kind of takes it a step further. Like there are a lot of other companies that are trying to do a similar thing, but they were all requiring you to like scan things as you put it in.
Right.
This doesn't require that at all. It's literally you just shop like normal, And then instead of stopping the cashier, you just leave. Now they still will have cashiers for the people that, want to go old school. But yeah, it has this kind of new technology. It's an interesting idea.
I am 100% for it. The less interaction I have with other people, the better. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about that. Basically, the only drawback I'd have to see is I'd just have to start bringing my own fucking shopping bags.
I think you should be doing that anyway.
But yeah, we don't.
So are you a self-service person? Do you do like the self-checkout?
Oh, 100%, yes. I'm lucky enough that the Myers that I go to for the most part, for most of my shopping, has on one side 3 of the self-checkouts, on the other side another 3 self-checkouts, and 2 full-size checkouts that are self-checkouts, if you understand the distinction.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah, some people may or may not. So most of the time I just use one of the small ones because I'm buying 12 items or less for the most part. But I'll run the entire large size one as well if I'm getting like a big old grocery cart full of stuff. And I love it. I don't have to fuck around with it. Don't have to talk with anybody. Don't have to worry about passing money or credit cards back and forth. All those credit cards obviously not is a thing anymore. I can't see any reason not to do it. It always cracked me up. Oh, when I work there now, Bill Burr does a big bit on that. Where did I finish my thought? That was my last thing I said. It was to ask you how you felt about them.
Oh, I think you went out during that. But yeah, I absolutely use them. For the most part, though, like, I just kind of get everything delivered now. Like, I think that is one thing that COVID changed. Like, there are so many things that I would have used to have just gone and done that now I will do remotely if possible.
Yeah, that happens with us a lot. For them, I think when I say that I go to Myers, I've been there twice in the last 3 months. For the most part, we just order from Kroger's because we were talking about that the other day before that they have the cheapest shipping stuff. I don't even do it. My wife does it. She'll get bored or decide there's not enough food in the house and all of a sudden start ordering stuff. And she'll ask me what I need. I'm like, you know exactly what I need. I only eat 4 things now. Buy me those 4 things. I'm fine. So our shopping bill is actually not all that much because she eats meals, lunches every day at the club. I eat lunches at the club 2 days a week, and then the other 3 I have to bring in food because it's food I can't have. Nor before that, this is the first year where I'm actually spending any money on food at all because before I would eat lunch and dinner at the club. Back before the season, it wasn't just a selection. Normally for lunches and dinners, you go downstairs and there's 3 or 4 different things you can eat with a couple sides. Like, for example, you might go downstairs and there's like meatloaf, mac and cheese, fried chicken, green beans, and corn. And then a side salad. There's probably a dessert or some cookies or a cake, couple cakes that have been made. And then they have a soda fountain where you can just fill up and get whatever you want to drink. So that's what's normally down there for lunch and dinner. So it's kind of dumb not to eat at the club. This year, not so much. This year, when you go down there, there's one thing. There's, like Wednesday, I can tell you exactly what I'm going to have tomorrow. It's going to be 2 hamburgers, and that's it. Because the other things, their other selections are potato salad, a tossed salad with a dressing I can't have, and a cookie. So, but at least I know I'm going to have 2 hamburgers.
What, they haven't added tossing salads to your job requirements yet?
It sure seems like it, that they're throwing more and more work at me lately. But I'm just glad to have it because I'm working full time. There's other people that aren't even getting full time hours, and all the people that normally have lots of overtime don't. Like I'm not getting nearly the overtime that I'm used to getting, despite the fact that I'm coming in earlier because I'm working only 5 days a week now. Normally, I'm used to working 6 or 7 days in the summer. So despite the fact I come in an hour earlier than I used to help check people in, it's still less hours, obviously. Housekeeping, fucking this guy normally works 6 or 7 days, normally 7. And he works even longer than I do, longer hours than I do. And he's working 40 hours a week for the first time in the last 16 years. He says he likes it in some regards because it's nice to actually have days off, but it's hurting him in the pocketbook.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So that actually kind of dovetails into some things that are going on. This is interesting. So the Fed, like 2 different people from the Federal Reserve came out today and gave statements basically about how the economy is going to be kind of shit for a while.
Yeah, that's not what I want to hear.
Yeah, so that's always kind of scary when they're the ones coming out and saying, yeah, like this shit isn't going away. Obviously part of it has to do with the expected downturn with like all the people that are probably, going to, face evictions, the fact that so many jobs have been basically completely gotten rid of that aren't necessarily coming back, people still dealing with, reduced hours. So basically the one came out and basically said that, for the foreseeable future, the interest rates through the Federal Reserve are still going to be like as close to zero as possible until we get back to like a level of somewhere around like 2% inflation or somewhere in there.
Oh, and I looked into that a little bit. Remember we spoke before about it might be a good idea to check and see what kind of interest rates I could get.
Yep.
And I did so. And this is assuming that all my numbers are correct, because you know how it is when you put in stuff. You're like, I think it's about this, and it could save me about $7,000 if I did that.
Well, $7,000 on how much of a loan?
Like 60,000, or I'm probably at 58 or 57 or some shit like that. So it's not an insignificant amount of money. So I'll probably sometime in the near future look into that. Although I hate that bullshit, because now they're gonna have to come and you have to get a estimate on your house, and normally you have to pay for that. So there's $400 that you're just gonna throw. Um, and then a whole bunch of paperwork, and you got to talk to people and this, that, and the other. And part of me just wants to say, fine, fuck it. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to lower my monthly payments by all that much at all. Because I want to say, let's see, a good chunk of my, if half, if not maybe a little bit more of what I pay in my monthly mortgage isn't my mortgage. It's my income. It's my property taxes. It's my personal mortgage insurance, and it's all that shit. My actual mortgage is about half of that. I won't insult you if the numbers that I pay, they're pretty low.
Well, I mean, either way, hey, you might get some good news out of it. Well, it won't necessarily be good news because the city might step in at some point, but they might come out and they're going to see that awesome inflatable hot tub in the garage, and then all of a sudden your property value is going to double.
Well, I've got bad news about that, sir. I took down the hot tub today.
Oh, snap. Why is that, Jay?
Yeah.
Because it's 140 degrees outside?
That too, but it's too expensive. In the middle, and in the spring and the summer, it's adding $100 a month to our electrical bill, and we can't afford that. And God knows what it's going to add in the winter. Once it gets past September into the colder months, it's too much. We can't afford it. The filters for it are not cheap either, and you have to replace them fairly regularly. I mean, that's not a huge amount, but call it $30 a month. Yeah, so these little things add up. Most of the other expenses are not much, like the test strips aren't that much. We've had the same container of chlorine pills the entire time that we've owned the hot tub. So, but I can't really afford $120, $130 a month right now, much less what it'll be in the winter. So I was lucky enough to be able to borrow a pump from the maintenance guy at work on Sunday, which I brought home with me along with some hose, and I drained the hot tub.
Oh, that's sad news, Jay. Sad news.
Yeah. Now, my wife will not let me do anything with it. I see Homelander saying we should raffle it on the OG. She said, fuck no, that's my hot tub. Just because we can't afford it now, it doesn't mean we can't afford it ever.
Well, you know what you need to do?
She does have
like, this is the time to get, a few solar panels for the garage. Literally only have them there to power that hot tub.
Yeah, it does seem quite a shame, doesn't it? But no, she makes a good point. We got it stupid cheap for some reason. Like, it was $320, and now they're $800 or $900. I mean, no shit. You can literally, that's the price difference. The only thing I can think of is a couple years ago when I bought it. Like, might be like a previous model of that Coleman hot tub, And you know how it is sometimes when they upgrade the model, there's no real change. It's like might be one minor thing or something like that. Uh, but what I suspect happened is that they upgraded their model and then took these leftovers of the older model and sold them all to Walmart and Amazon and these other stores at a deep discount just to get rid of them. Which is why for a period of time you could buy these hot tubs for $325 off of Walmart. But now all those are gone, and the only thing left is the newer model, which is pretty much the same thing, but they want $800 or $900 for that one.
No, I think you're underestimating yourself, Jay. I think what happened is you got this inflatable hot tub and you had such successful threads bragging about it on the internet that these companies found out and they're like, holy shit, we should probably charge more for this because look at this guy. He is balling.
That is entirely possible. But then again, there was also that period of time that I was pretty convinced that the hot tub gave me cancer, which is not true, actually. When it comes right down to it, the hot tub saved my life because when I noticed I had the hernia was immediately after I got out of the hot tub. So I assume me being relaxed in there at some point shifted stuff around, and made the hernia start hurting. Because it's not like I did anything. All I was sitting in the hot tub. I literally get out of the hot tub, and while I'm walking around putting the lid back on stuff, my nuts start hurting. And it starts getting worse and worse and worse. And I knew I had a hernia, but it didn't really bother me. It just, you get a weird feeling there every once in a while, or a little numbness. And this time it was way worse. It started hurting more and more and more. I tried to ignore it. I went to the guitar store to pick up a bass I had them working on, and I could barely talk to the dude. It hurt so bad. So by that point, I knew something was up. So I drove back home, dropped off my bass, and drove up to the emergency room. I knew it had to be a hernia, but it was hurt so bad that I knew that fucking it was a bad idea not to say anything. And at this point, it was all swollen up, and you could tell that something was fucking going on. So I went to the hospital. They checked for a hernia because they figured that's what it was too. It had all the symptoms, but just in case it was kidney stones or something like that, they were going to do a CAT scan of me as well. And I almost left. I almost left because at one point it stopped hurting. The swelling went down. And I was like, oh, okay, clearly it's a hernia. It's probably went back inside. There's no reason to bother these people. I could just talk to my doctor in the next day or two and set something up. I felt kind of embarrassed that I was at the hospital for a fucking hernia. And the OG told me not to do that. They're like, no, dude, you can't leave. If you leave right now, you might not, your insurance might not pay for it. You should stay there and get that CAT scan done. I'm like, okay, well, I'm wasting everyone's fucking time. And they gave me the CAT scan, and sure enough, they found a hernia and a fucking softball-sized lump around my kidney at the same time. So when it comes right down to it, that hot tub fucking saved my life.
It's a lot of mental gymnastics, but yes, possibly.
Yeah, it's just funny things. There's so many ways that could have went wrong, and that was such a point that if I didn't find it then, it would have been a lot worse story than we're telling now. So, people say that I'm unlucky. Maybe not. In a lot of ways, I consider myself very lucky. I'm very lucky to be where I am in my life, to have the wife that I have, and like the situation that I have going on now. Because things could be far, far worse for me in so many different ways.
I mean, yeah, you could have Homelander's cough.
Yeah, dude, Jesus Christ, Homelander, you've been sick for what, fucking 6 months now? Yeah, and yes, it was the size of a softball. They said it was 3.5 by 4 inches. That's about a softball size. It pretty much almost entirely encapsulated the kidney. So I have a really big fucking scar on my stomach where they took that shit out.
3.5 by 4. I'm trying to think. Is that actually? I don't think that's quite a softball size. But yeah, it's decently sized.
Yeah. 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 That's that. Yeah, it wasn't fun. I don't recommend it. But if you're going to get cancer, in a lot of ways, kidney cancer is almost the best one you can get because it's the only one that you have a fucking spare. It's the only one that if everything goes all right and the surgery doesn't kill you and it doesn't come back someplace else, which is really what the happens to you most of the time if it's going to kill you. The actual losing the kidney is not that big of a deal. You have another one that does all you need to do. You can actually get by on about half of one kidney, although things get a little dicey. But one kidney does not affect your life in any way, shape, or form. And I didn't have to go through any chemotherapy, no radiation. I just had about a 1.5 year period where I felt like I was fucking gonna die. but I didn't die. So, and now I feel great. So, and I know lots of people that I have went through cancer experiences that 2.5 years later, yeah, almost 2.5 years later, do not feel great at all.
So I wonder if I ever ended up with kidney cancer, like if I could at the same time as getting, the one bad one removed, I could just pay to have like a black market one swapped in.
That maybe if you had the money for that sort of shit. Probably not here in the United States. But if you went to another country, I'm sure you can find someone that would be willing to do it for you. So you just because, not even because it would affect your life, you just want to make sure you have that backup still.
Yeah, well, maybe I even go out and just get a jump start on things, and I just get a third one added just in case.
Oh, dude, if you're gonna add extra shit, dude, don't bother with the kidney. You need like an extra heart or an extra lung or something that's really gonna make you a fucking superhuman. What's an extra kidney gonna do? Let you drink a lot more before you have to pee?
Hey, that would be, that would come in handy for these goddamn fight companions that run 6 hours.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess they would. I need something like that because I swear to God, I've got a bladder the size of a fucking walnut. I almost always have to pee.
That's a good point, Homelander, as far as just being able to grow your own pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
The whole, like, CRISPR and everything else that they've been doing around genetic sequencing and being able to grow things. Like when they grew that ear on top of a fucking mouse. A little weird, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, that was quite a while ago now. I wonder how far they've really advanced that shit.
Maybe a nose on a mouse.
Wouldn't surprise me if they are doing shit like that. Let's see. Hey, dude, did you see about that ship on fire for the past couple days, like the Navy ship?
I did. That absolutely sucks. And I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, but also keep in mind, we still have to go through fight picks, and we have 7 minutes until you want to crawl into the bed like a little girl.
Okay, yeah, my bed is calling me. It was a rough day. Okay, we better get started. Let me go ahead and go to my MMA picking site so that I can see who's fighting. Roll on down to the bottom for the names I don't know shit about.
And we have to do them.
Whatever you are, sir.
Yeah, we have to do them today since the fights are tomorrow.
Shit.
So first fight of the end. So let's actually start here. We are picking for UFC Fight Island 1. How is it Fight Island 1 if we just had fights on Fight Island on Saturday?
Yeah, come on now, UFC. You're not fooling anybody. This isn't Fight Island 1. This is Fight Island 2. You guys are liars.
Yeah, so I guess technically on Saturday it was UFC 251. And now it's UFC Fight Island 1, which is the second fight on fight. God damn it. Anyhow, first fight is Jack Tank Shore versus the model Aaron Phillips.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let me look at their wins. No, I don't know any of the shit. I don't know anybody that they fought or anything like that or offhand. So I'm going to take Jake Shore because he has a better nickname.
I'm going to go with the model since Jack Shore is from the UK and just, I don't know why, but England doesn't have great fighters.
Well, Phillips is actually the underdog on my site. I don't know if that means anything, but we'll go with that.
Hey, I might be wrong. Next fight is the Warrior Princess Diana Belbita versus She-Wolf Liana Jojua.
Which is interesting because on my website, Joja's nickname is Migueli, which I assume is She-Wolf in some language or another.
Well, interesting fact, she's from Georgia.
Well, then I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
The country, not the state, obviously.
Okay. Well, that makes sense again. I did it again, dude. For once again, I thought you were talking about the fucking state. I'm like,
no, you are 0 for 2 on being from Georgia.
I'm just thinking to myself when you said it. I'm like, well, that's an interesting name for the state of Georgia. I haven't seen that. Okay, I'm going to go with her just because apparently it's meant to be.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, they're both decent look. You were talking about Amanda Hebus, I'm assuming?
Yes. Yeah. She ended up being a little cutie. Her post-fight interviews was adorable.
adorable. Like, you sound so old right now. But yeah, so I will go with Diana. She's slightly better looking. She's also taller. So yeah, why not?
Okay, that's a logical reason to pick that. Who we got next?
Well, I mean, we're dealing with these fighters. I have no idea who anyone is. So
I know.
we've got Jared Flash Gordon versus Chris Fishgold.
Neither of them have a great record, but we're gonna go with Jared Gordon just because I've heard of him actually.
I guess I'll go with, and this goes against my logic from earlier fights. I'm going to go Chris Fishgold. He's from the UK. But just having the nickname Flash because your last name's Gordon, like, do better.
Who's next?
Next, we have Modestas Bukauskas versus Andreas Michailidis.
Oh, my. Well, let's see. Who's got the better nickname?
So we have the Baltic Gladiator versus the Spartan. So this is going to be a fucking war.
Well, isn't that ironic? So which do you think are more better? More better. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going to go with the Gladiator over the Spartan.
I guess I'll go with the Spartan. He just kind of looks like he's dead behind his eyes. So he may be a legit psycho.
That's a good reason to pick somebody. Yeah, we'll go with that. Who's next?
Next of all, we have Ricardo Ramos versus Lerone the Miracle Murphy, or Lerone. It's probably Lerone.
Okay, the first thing I might note is I don't know what kind of picture is on your website, but on mine, Lerone Murphy appears to be wearing a heart rate monitor on his chest.
Not on mine. I have the official UFC picture.
Oh, this picture's way better. The dude's seriously wearing one of those heart rate monitors, or like with the little, the little strap thing that goes over your chest, and it's got the little heart rate monitor that's wireless and sets against your chest and shit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what a heart rate monitor is.
Okay, well, he's wearing one on his fucking picture, so there's no way I can pick him. Besides which, Ricardo Romanos also sounds like a salsa dancer, so he's probably not going to be hard to hit.
Fair enough. I will go with the Brazilian because, again, I can't pick too many people from England because the numbers don't work out. And that's actually
right.
So Dragunov, was Jack Shore impressive? Because I didn't pick him, and now I need to know if I should have picked him. But while we wait for that, the next is he's solid. Well, yeah, I probably got that one wrong then. The next one is the main event of the prelims. We have the Welsh wrecking machine, John Phillips, versus Boers Khamzat Chimaev.
Okay. First of all, there's no picture for that dude over here on my website, so that's a strike against them. If they haven't even bothered to photograph you in your MMA career, that's a bad sign. On the other hand, I don't really know who the Welsh are, so I don't know if a Welsh wrecking machine is better or worse than your average ethnicity.
Well, I mean, they're from the UK, so there is that.
Well, you know what? I'm still going to go with John Phillips. I always go with the guy that there's an actual picture of. I have no evidence the other guy actually exists.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go for the other guy, mainly because he's, definitely from that European area where life is hard. And John Phillips has a fucking terrible chest tattoo. So, yeah, I can't rock with that.
All right. Who's next?
Alrighty, in the first fight of the main card, we have Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Moinir Lazez, or Laze, maybe. I don't know. His nickname's the Sniper.
Oh, well, there's no way he's going to win against Judo Thunder, so I'm going with Abdul.
Fair enough. I will probably also go Razak Al Hassan. Just because this other guy's... Thunder! Just because this Moinir guy is from the UAE, so he's basically from Abu Dhabi for the most part.
Right.
And I've never heard of him, so I think he's just like the local throw-in guy that they probably did as a favor to some Saudi prince or whatever.
Oh, well, he's in the UFC. I think he has at least one fight in the UFC. He lost versus E.L. Darov. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure he's a person.
I'm sure he is also a person if there was a fight.
Yes. Okay. So we both picked the same guy. That just makes sense. Who else do we got?
Next fight we have Meatball Molly McCann versus Now Tyler Santos.
Huh. Does she not have a nickname?
No, Now is just the nickname. NAO.
Oh. Okay. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's a foreign fighter.
She's Brazilian.
There you go. I'm gonna go with Molly McCann just because she has, like a way more fights.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go Santos again. Like, I don't know what the deal with this card.
Actually,
like, this is all of the. This is the All England card.
You know what? Actually, I got that wrong. Santos actually has more fights. It's just the McCann has more against bigger names. My apologies. Molly's 10-2, while this chick, Santos chick is actually 15-1. But is yet still the underdog, apparently.
Yeah, I'll pick the underdog here just because, again, I think I've picked one person from the UK to win, and that's probably one too many.
Who's next?
Next up, we have what probably actually should be a fun one. We have Jimmy Rivera versus Cody Stamann.
Oh, shit. Names I actually know. Well, I'm going to go with Cody Stamann just because he's got a really self-confident nickname.
Spartan?
No, Mr. Wonderful.
Well, on the UFC site, he is Spartan.
Well, I don't know about that. I think I'm going to go with Mr. Wonderful because how many Spartans are there in the UFC? Like 18. There's only one Mr. Wonderful.
Oh, yeah? Well, Jimmy Rivera's nickname is El Terror, which is Spanish for the terror.
Oh. Shit.
Take that. You know bilingual as fuck.
Yeah, you're right. And they have this as the hot pick of the evening. So this is the closest match according to whatever website this is. I'm still sticking with Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, this one's interesting. So they're ranked 8 and 9. Yeah, I think I'll probably go Stamann as well.
Oh, yep. All right. What's next, sir?
All right. Next, we have Tim Elliott versus babyface Ryan Benoit.
Damn. Well, Mr. Tim Elliott's kind of got his back against the wall. He's got 3 losses in a row, which is never a good thing in the UFC. I'm just kind of surprised that he's the co-main for this. I'm gonna go with Elliott. I think he's gonna pull this one out. I think he needs it more.
Yeah, I agree with the chat. Like, he's always fun to watch. He always brings the fight. So, like, even in his last loss, it's not like he looked terrible. And this Ryan Benoit dude just looks like a fucking nerd. So, yeah, we're going Tim Elliott.
All right. And obviously the last fight would be...
Last fight is Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige.
Okay, well, Mr. Calvin's nickname, the Boston Finisher, sounds like a sex move, so that's a point against him right away. But on the other hand, Dan's nickname is Dynamite, which is like the third most unoriginal nickname you could possibly have. So I guess we're going to have to go with their actual abilities. Let's see.
Well, Dan's new nickname is actually 50K.
Oh, 50K. Well, that's slightly more. Why is that like the most he's ever won in a UFC fight? Is that what he went with?
I'm assuming it has something to do with him, being exciting and getting finishes that get him bonuses.
Okay. That's not horrible. I'm still going to go with Kattar. His win over Stevens is really fucking impressive.
Yeah, I have to go with Kattar here just because he did beat Jeremy. So, yeah, if he goes out and shits the bed against Ige, like, that just makes that fight look worse, and I'd rather not have that be a thing.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. All right, well, that's everybody, isn't it? Shit. I'm going to call it a show then, because it's about time for it to be a show. I want to thank the OG Army for showing up. We can't do the show without you. I really appreciate you guys. I want to thank my co-host Dalton. I couldn't do the show without him either. Dalton, you got anything else?
So a couple things. I think the first thing, obviously, these fights will be going on tomorrow. We will not be doing a fight companion because Jay goes to bed at 7:09. And I actually have to be up, relatively early on Thursday. However, I'm still making the call at some point whether or not Saturday is going to be a thing. So tune in later in the week for that to firm up. Jay, that's teaser number 2, all in one episode.
Oh my. Look how professional you are. What else you got, sir?
But other than that, the only other thing that we can ever end on this podcast is 3 little words that happen to be fuck all y'all.
You guys all have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6. Bye-bye.
Screw you, hippie!